You have got to hear what Seth Rollins just said about CM Punk, because he unleashed on this guy yet again. In this video, we're going to break it down because Seth Rollins, CM Punk, they have their issues, right? We don't necessarily know from Punk's side, even if he has issues, but we do know from Seth Rollins' side, and he dished on this a little bit more while speaking on the Sports Illustrated podcast. Now, look, when CM Punk returned to WWE at Survivor Series following the men's War Games match, well, we saw a storyline reaction from the World Heavyweight Champion. He flipped off CM Punk. He cursed him out. He was losing it. Now, we did learn later on that the main eventers in that match, they were told right before that match happened that, look, Punk is going to come out after the show, yada, yada, yada. Seth Rollins' reaction was purely in storyline based, okay? Yes, he's not thrilled that Punk is back, but he didn't lose his cool that much, right? And even on this podcast, he apologized for using some of the language that he did, which was the F-bomb. God forbid you hear an F-bomb. I digress. Little kids, I get it. But if you recall, at this year's Royal Rumble, I believe, with Nick Hausman, it could have been 2022. I'm sure some fine folk will correct me in the commentary below. Rollins went off on Punk and said that he was a cancer and to stay away from the company, yada, yada, yada. Fast forward to this video. Seth Rollins had this to say about CM Punk and his return to the company. And it's interesting. He said, in regards to the moment of him freaking out, I understand why very few people knew what was going on that day. In the moment, I was extremely emotional. It was a very raw, emotional response. It is what it is. I can't take it back. I wish I would have handled myself with a little bit more composure. In regards to his issues with CM Punk, he had this to say. For a guy who, when I met him, made it seem like he was all about giving back to the business, he really turned into a pretty selfish guy and really wanted to take more from the industry. Punk said some really bad things about me. Talked down to me for years and the company for years. I'm talking about some really bad stuff. Called me a bootlicker and crap like that. You don't know me. You don't know what I stand for. I'm a loyal person. And I felt pretty insulted by a lot of the ways he treated me. Treated the place I worked for, treated friends that I worked with. I don't need to get into any of that stuff with Colt Cabana. If you want to look at that kind of stuff, that's out there, end quote. So yeah, he took issue with it. Rightfully so. Anyone could. But this Punk Rollins feud is going to draw a lot of money. And I'm there for it. Sign me up.